Everything just fell into place for the St. Louis Blues with one of the young budding defensemen poised for a breakout season heading into his contract year. We also get a huge update on soon-to-be GM Alex Steen as we get a major update with him taking over a huge role heading into the Olympics. We're going to break down everything to do on Philip Broberg, his next contract, and why Blues fans should be ecstatic, and this update on Alex Steen, which everyone is excited to hear. We're going to break down all this and so much more later on this episode. Before we get into it, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone watching. We're trying to reach our goal of 4,500 subscribers before the season starts, so if you want to stay up to date on everything to do around the St. Louis Blues on a daily basis, make sure to go down and hit that free subscribe button. It means the world, and in return, we'll give you daily updates from around the team. But Darius, with this, let's just dive straight into it today. And before we get into Philip Broberg and everything surrounding him, we do get a big update on Alex Steen, and he's been named to Team Sweden's management group for the 26 Olympics. Now, going farther into this, we do get a quote from Chris Johnson, too, saying that he's not just going as a special advisor, but he's playing a major role in helping select the roster, and we know he's going to take over as the general manager for the St. Louis Blues with Doug Armstrong on his side. But what is your initial thoughts on just seeing Steen getting this opportunity to go to Sweden and represent?
Well, it's first of all a tremendous honor for Alex Steen, right? Getting to represent Team Sweden in some type of capacity and, making some really big decisions, helping pick the team, which is huge. This is the first time NHLers are going to be in the Olympics in 12 years, which is absolutely exciting. So, great, role for him, great honor. And obviously, I think this plays a big role into his future and his future as the GM of the St. Louis Blues, because we know it's headed that direction. Obviously, like we covered in a video just last week with the new update, not really a new update, but just like reassuring fans of what was happening and what the plan was. This is good news because he's going to get more experience doing this at the Olympics and at the international level, which is great. And that just adds to, his skill set heading forward into the future with the St. Louis Blues. So this is a great opportunity for the future GM of the Blues. And heading into next season, he's also going to be taking on a lot of different roles with the St. Louis Blues. He's going to be taking on more. Doug Armstrong, as we know, is going to be sticking around in some capacity and will be, doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff still. But Alex Steen is going to take on more slowly. So they're really, developing this guy into a really good executive, which I love. So this is awesome. I'm happy to hear it. And I think this is going to be good for his development as, management heading into the future as well.
And I mean, Steen is fired up. You can see the quote here saying that it was an honor to have the opportunity to represent Sweden in a privilege that I hold in the highest regard. Steen is going to be a great GM. I love what this group is doing, where they're not just throwing him to the wolves. They're letting Doug Armstrong, who's doing an incredible job and has been for quite some time, continue to develop Steen into a perfect mold of himself. We've seen Doug Armstrong work with Team Canada. We do see Steen working with Sweden, so it seems like the torch is going to be passed perfectly. But Blues fans, what is your thoughts on when Steen takes over? What is your thoughts on them going to the Olympics? Do we see Broberg on Team Sweden? Let us know down in the comments. But speaking on that, we are 6 days away, which is the same number of Philip Broberg, the Swede. It all ties together. And with this, we have seen a lot of excitement. Listen, we've seen a dominant game last night with the St. Louis Blues absolutely crushing the Ottawa Senators, and one player in particular. Listen, a lot of people stood out, but Philip Broberg, 2 goals, 3 assists, a +4. The expected goals percentage at 67.35. This kid has been incredible. I don't even know if I want to say kid. He's in his early 20s, but the big thing with Broberg is he's going to have a second breakout season, if you want to say it. We've seen the 2 quick goals in 27 seconds. He stroked the puck right into the back of the net twice in the 30 seconds. Everything he's doing leading up to this campaign is pointing towards an absolute breakout. We're going to touch on a contract, the projections, but Darius, what is your thoughts on him and how the Oilers royally screwed up on letting him come to the Blues?
Yeah, I still can't believe that the Oilers let him go. But like you mentioned, just 6 days away from the regular season starting, which is very exciting, a very exciting time for fans. And depending when you're watching this video, we're about 6 or 7 days away from, talking about the games with your classmates, with your coworkers, all that stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun to dissect that first game as well. But Philip Broberg, to get to that, like you mentioned, can't believe the Oilers let him go. Absolutely ridiculous decision on their end. The St. Louis Blues are going to be loving this for years to to come. But what does this contract look like heading into the future? As you can see here, we have some projections, but things have changed even with these projections. You can see here that he's projected at a 5-year, $7 million contract. But I think with, the landscape ever changing at this point, and, some of the defensemen who've signed over the last few days at this point, things are going to look different. You saw the contract that went to Luke Hughes, Jackson Lacombe as well. Like, that contract's absolutely insane. Nico Mikkola is a little bit older, so that's a little bit of a different scenario. Philip Broberg's like a really, really good young defenseman in this league. So his contract, I think, is going to look closer to a Luke Hughes or, a couple of the other guys that we've been mentioning and we've seen be signed over the last little while. So I could see, Mark, I don't know how you feel about this, but I could see him in the $9 to $10 million range long term, because it would age beautifully as the years go on, with the salary cap going up roughly $10 million every summer now. So it would be a lot to give up at first, but if he is signing long term, you got to give him big money. We saw that with a couple of the 8-year, 7-year deals that are being dished out, a lot of money. But obviously, as time goes on, these young defensemen should be able to make the contracts look like they're definitely worth it. So, we look at all the projections, and they're nice through the summer. And Scotia Stat projections has been bang on. Shout out to them. But I think things are changing by the day now with Kirill Kaprizov signing, Luke Hughes, all of these guys. So I don't know how you feel about it, Mark, but I have to say, I think he's going to get a big dollar amount here. And if it's a shorter term deal, he's still going to get paid very handsomely, but I don't think it's going to be as extreme as like a $9 or $10 million AAV.
And I think the big thing is we're seeing all these contracts. Gyms are looking at this in a holy, this is going to change fast. And we see a lot of agents licking their chops. But the big thing is, with a lot of these guys signing, like you said, we've seen multiple contracts at 9-year, a 28-year-old signed a $5 million. This contract landscape is going to change. So I could most certainly see a contract for Broberg come in at this range. Now, I do think Broberg's camp might look at this and say, hey, we're a year or two older than a lot of guys that are signing, minus Mikkola, who is in his almost 30s. But the big thing is, maybe we see a 6 or 7-year deal come out where we see a $9 million AAV. It'd be nice to lock him up to the 8-year before that's kind of distinguished going through the NHL, where we're going to see it be a maximum of 7. But the big thing with Broberg, and what I do like, is his progression year after year. Last year, 29 points doesn't tell the picture on how good he was. He's going to get an increased role as the years go on. And Darius, the big thing is, when looking at this Blues line, a Blues blue line, we know Feller is getting up in age. We know Breakout. Both of these guys are shut down and awesome. But what is your thoughts on maybe them looking at this group and saying, hey, Broberg is going to be the face of this defense in a couple of seasons? Maybe we're going to really make that push, give him 9, 9.5, maybe 10 to lock him up on an 8-year deal.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the route that you should go, right? Give them as many years as possible as you can, and depending when the contract is to be signed. Obviously, right now, they still have the ability, like you mentioned, to give him 8 years. So that would make a lot of sense to me. But to me, it doesn't necessarily matter right now and even next season where he plays in the lineup. Just pay him, get him locked up, make sure he's on the team, and then eventually one day he will be a number 1 defenseman for this team. Arguably, heading into next year, depending on how this season goes, he could already be in that role, but because, of the pairings, you want Parayko and Fowler together because they were so good together, and then Broberg's going to play with Falk. I think there's also potential this season to mess around with things in season. I wonder if Mayu gets a shot with Broberg to see what they can do, because Mayu in the game last night, for anyone who watched, he looked very poised with the puck. He looked he looked awesome. This is an NHL player at this point, right? So that's really, really good news for the Blues. So excited to see how that plays out if he gets some time with Broberg, what the power play looks like at times. So that'll be a lot of fun too. But yeah, to me, lock him up the longest term that you possibly can. Obviously work with his agent and the player, because we know a lot of these players want shorter term deals, or if you're young, if you're going long term, like 7 or 8, like we've seen, you're going to get paid very handsomely. So we'll see exactly what happens. I think they should try and do it as soon as possible, especially because I think he's poised for a great season, like you were mentioning as well, Mark. Like, he's going to have a better season than he even had last year, and his points don't even paint the picture of how good of a season he had last year. So try to get him locked up as soon as possible, because if you wait till the end of the year, he's probably going to want even more money. So try to get it done. A lot of agents don't like to do it in season. Try to figure out an avenue to get that done, because you don't want this to kind of bleed into the offseason, or next offseason, I should say, because then there could be some trouble if some feelings change, and we've seen that in the past. So ultimately, I think that you should try to lock him up for as long as possible, even if you're paying him a lot, because then it's going to age really well. And this is one of the best young defensemen in the league.
And I mean, listen, they still got 6 days to sign him. So if they want to give him a 6, 7, 8 year deal before the season starts, that would be awesome. But Blues fans, so what is your thoughts? How much would you give Broberg? How many points do you think he puts up? Is he the face of this blue line going into the future of the team? Let us know all that, plus your thoughts on Steen down in the comments. And speaking of comments, let's go straight into comments. And this ties in perfectly. Please extend Broberg and Holloway. The price is going to go up as we wait. And the thing is with this, you want to see both players if they can replicate last season, but with the way they're playing, looking at mid-season form before the season starts, these guys are going to break out again, and I think we're going to see a lot of contracts signed or extended within this Blues team very soon. But leave a thoughts on everything down below, and you can be featured on a comment today. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care, Blues fans.